book lovers, it is G-Swizz here, and I am here today to talk about some books to binge during quarantine. I think a lot of you guys are as well. I'm a little bit depressed, I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to be in quarantine. This is one of the worst things to have happened to the world, and I'm not really going to go into it because I understand if a lot of people want to escape from reality, but I bring it up for a second, and that's what inspired this video essentially. I remembered something. I actually survived a self-quarantine before. This had nothing to do with a virus. It had to do with Bell's palsy. I had stayed within the house for a month unless I really needed to go out to get something. Because with Bell's palsy, technically, half your face is deformed. It's funny because at the moment I'm still battling anhedonia, so it's not like I enjoy many introverted activities that I used to, but I'm really getting there. I'm starting to do booktube again. I'm starting to read again, just not at the same pace that I used to. But that being said, it's slowly happening. The month that I had Bell's palsy, it was June 2016. I had read 33 books because I was alone. I understand if anyone's out there who feels alone as well and don't know what to do. Well, I would encourage you guys to consider binge reading some series. I have been binge reading as well. I've been binge reading other things other than these books right here. But from experience, every single book that I'm going to mention on this list, though not all of them are perfect at all and some of them are pretty polarized, they are books that I had a really good experience binge reading. That being said, I'm going to recommend those books to you. This list is a scale from very family friendly to not so family friendly. Let's do it. When we're talking about family friendly, what are we talking about? We're talking about Rick Riordan's books here. Okay, so to sum up my relationship with Rick Riordan's books, the only book series that I've never actually fully binge read from him is the Trials of Apollo series. And the reason why I've never binge read them is because they're still coming out every year. I mean, I still haven't continued on with the series. I don't think I've read The Tyrant's Tomb yet, but I need to because I love Rick Riordan's books. It's just I didn't enjoy buying books at the time that it came out, and that kind of stuff. I need to catch up and I need to buy that book. That being said, there are so many book series that are just so worth binge reading from him. First of all, we're gonna talk about Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And to the people who haven't read it and who read very avidly, I don't understand why you have not read it yet. Nah, I'm just teasing you. I don't want to be one of those annoying people that, you know, like for example,
if you haven't read Harry Potter, then you shouldn't be on BookTube.
Seriously, those people are kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie. So I don't want to be that type of person, but I do want you to understand that it is a really good series and I do highly recommend you do check it out. If you don't want to read it, that's fine, but you are missing out. And if you want to continue on from the Percy Jackson series, if you have started the Percy Jackson series and haven't continued on yet, what are you doing? Percy Jackson was good, but the spin-offs are so good too. And I do understand as well if the spin-offs don't have the best ending like the Percy Jackson series had. The Percy Jackson series probably had Rick Riordan's most satisfying ending out of like all of the series. That does not mean that the Heroes of Olympus series is not good. And that does not mean that the rest of his series are not good. I do have to admit, it is a little bit devastating when his book series like Heroes of Olympus and Magnus Chase did not have the best ending ever, but in perspective, he's gonna keep writing spin-offs, so it doesn't really matter. If you don't want to read the spin-offs, then just start off with one series. See how you go with that series, and if you don't like that series, you don't have to continue with the series. Or if you're intimidated with the rest of the spin-offs, you don't have to continue on with the rest of the spin-offs, but I do encourage you guys to at least start it, because it is a worthy binge read. I binge read the Percy Jackson series in 5 days. I binge read Heroes of Olympus series in 4 days. Yes, I read the House of Hades and the Blood of Olympus back to back. I did that similarly with Magnus Chase as well. I also read the Kane Chronicles within a week. I loved those book series. The one book series that I do have with me here are the Trials of Apollo series. These are his latest books. I am really enjoying this series so far. I do have to admit, I don't like the series as much as I like the Heroes of Olympus or Percy Jackson and the Olympians, but I still really enjoy them because it still makes me feel a bit nostalgic, and I love following the new characters as well as seeing the old characters come in. I do recommend anything by Rick Riordan because he will just lighten the mood. So the next author I will be shining a spotlight on will be Marissa Meyer. And I will have to recommend both the Lunar Chronicles and the Renegades trilogy. These series are so good. Now, what I really love about the Lunar Chronicles is that it is a very character-driven story, and it's something that I wouldn't come to discover from a fairy tale retelling. They're living in a world of cyborgs. Everything's literally in space, and it's just so freaking awesome. It's honestly mind-blowing fantasy to me because it's actually a sci-fi. I'm still not not over it. I really, really, really want to reread it. That also being said, this series right here is my second favorite trilogy of all time. Now, this series over here is definitely a lot more politically driven. No, actually, I don't know. It really depends. I mean, I think I was a lot more fascinated in the politics of this series personally, but the other series, the Lunar Chronicles, there are definitely some politics there. Whereas these ones kind of feel a little bit more relevant. I think it's because we are now getting a lot of superhero stories that are very relevant to this day and age, even though we don't have superpowers. We live in a pretty mundane world, I'm not gonna lie. So this is why you read them, because of escapism. But the reason why I prefer this series over the Lunar Chronicles, it's because the message behind this trilogy really makes me passionate. I just got really excited reading this trilogy in general, mostly because of its message. Whereas with Lunar Chronicles, I enjoyed that for entertainment value, and I also really loved the characters in that series. Some of the characters I kind of connected to more than I did with the Lunar Chronicles, but I love Nova, I love Adrian, and I don't want to keep comparing them to, but everyone kind of results in comparing them to because they are so vastly different from each other, and that's understandable. That's kind of my justification for why I prefer this series. This series is so good. Please pick it up for me. Speaking of favorites, I had to bring this one up. The reason why I am bringing up Divergent, even though I know it's not a very popular opinion, is because I was reminiscing on this literally yesterday. I was thinking, how awesome would it be if I read Divergent completely blindly? If I took abnegation serum and if I read Divergent not knowing anything, I would feel amazing. I would honestly continue reading with anticipation. I would just flick through all the pages. I'd get really excited. I would stay up all night reading Insurgent again. That's how I would feel if I reread this trilogy with completely new eyes. I would do anything for that experience again. I completely understand if no one wants to give these a shot, as well as if no one wants to reread them. But I'm putting it on my list anyway because these are my thoughts towards Divergent. I just want to reread it and I want to reminisce and I just want to be happy again, like when I first read it, when I first fell in love with reading and when I first fell in love with dystopian fiction. And I understand that maybe dystopian fiction is probably not something we should escape to at the moment because it's a pretty scary world at the moment. But if dystopian fiction makes you happy, that's fine. That's why I'm recommending it. Go read it. This all being said, I have another dystopian trilogy recommendation that you guys should really be rereading during this time. If you want to reread it, guys, have you considered rereading The Hunger Games during this hard time? I know for a fact that I have. I have considered rereading the series, and guys, I honestly don't understand it, but there will be a President Snow spin-off. No, I don't want him to be redeemed for me at all, but at the same time, I am very intrigued. I think that this is a really good time to reread The Hunger Games. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because the same reasons why I brought up Divergent. Nostalgia. If you want to remember those happy times where we all read the books before we went to the midnight premieres of these movies, it's kind of really cool to just experience it again in book form. Even better, to watch the movies straight after we read the books. How amazing would that be? I mean, I'm pretty sure people were doing that at one point in the booktube community when it had been 10 years of The Hunger Games and whatnot, and I had completely missed out on that. But oh boy, I remember rereading the entire trilogy before Mockingjay Part 2 came out, and it was just magical. I think that the binge read will be worth it. All right, next up, I have The Strange the Dreamer duology. This is probably my favorite duology of all time. It's so good. I am in love with this duology, and I love talking about it so much. It is just a magical time. If you just want to escape this world and fall into the world of Weep, just do it. It's not gonna hurt. This series is really well written. It's just all like a dream. I wish life was like a dream right now. Now I feel like I'm reliving the same day over and over again because of quarantine. If you like magical realism, that's not necessarily a genre that I go to when it comes to fiction, but I loved this book series. I think if you love magical realism, you love this book series. And if you don't, I think you should give it a try. At least borrow it from a friend or borrow it from the library. If a library is still open during this time. If you're not convinced, just try to borrow it. It's really worth the read. This one's a slightly controversial one. The only reason why I'm bringing this offer up is because I have really good experiences binge reading her series. I know a lot of people have as well. I can't say that I'm fully in love with her writing anymore. I still have to read her new book, which just came out. I actually ordered that today. I actually treated myself and I bought myself a book. I rarely do that these days. I'm talking about Sarah J. Maas. This is actually the only book I own from her in my new apartment. I actually have the rest of her books at home because if I took all of Sarah J. Maas's books, all of Marissa Meyer's books, all of Rick Riordan's books, and even all of my Divergent collection, I'd need 2 more shelves like these. I'm obsessed with this cover. What's new? new. I'd recommend this as a binge read. It's very entertaining. I can't say that I fully loved the end of the series because I'm not really a big fan of Kingdom of Ash. If I was to be real, I need to reread it to see if I like it, but I just remembered how sour and how bitter I felt about two particular characters. I don't want to think about them, to be honest. A lot of you guys have no idea what I'm talking about because this book series has a full cast of characters. If you need a distraction, it's a good distraction. That being said, A Court of Thorns and Roses is also a good distraction. Would I recommend that series? I would not recommend that series at the moment, but I'll put it out there. It's an okay binge read. But I'd say Friend of Glass makes a better binge read because there's so much more content and it's finished, unless there's a spin-off. But it's kind of finished, you know? Alright, so we're going kind of into adult fiction. I mean, technically I just finished talking about Friend of Glass. Of course that was gonna be the border. So before we get into the really, really mature stuff, I'm just gonna be talking about the mature stuff. So right now I'm going to spotlight Victoria Schwab. Ow, my collarbone! I should probably be talking about one series at a time here. So the first series that I'll bring up will be the Villains trilogy, currently a duology, that consists of Vicious and Vengeful. I love this series so much. To be real, I didn't like it as much when I first read Vicious. It took me 2 times to read Vicious to really get it and to really enjoy it. Then I read Vengeful and I loved Vengeful. And it's funny because it's actually very polarizing. Some people prefer Vicious and then they say Vengeful is a piece of trash and they will just stick to this being a standalone. But other people, like myself, love the fact that this is being turned into a trilogy. I am living for it. I love this book series so far and I am looking forward to the finale. If it's just as good as A Conjuring of Light, I am in. That being said, I will bring that series up. A Darker Shade of Magic by Victoria Schwab. I love this trilogy. I am so tempted to reread it. And I get really excited and really giddy whenever I talk to my love about it. We're always in a bookstore. I'm like, A Darker Shade of Magic, please read it, please read it. Like, that's me with everyone. So please give A Darker Shade of Magic a try. A lot of people describe it as adult Harry Potter, but I'd say it's like adult Harry Potter with dimensions. Into the Potterverse. Into the Schwabverse. Now we're gonna be talking about some mature stuff. I understand that family-friendly stuff gets the views. I mean, why did I talk about the family-friendly stuff while I'm holding scotch? I don't know. So the final 3 titles I'm going to be talking about are pretty much all graphic options. So they're either comics or manga. This series right here is pretty bingeable. The Wicked and the Divine by Gillen, McKelvey, Wilson, and Cole. So this is the first volume. The Wicked and the Divine is a really cool book series because it has to do with gods kind of reincarnating as rock stars. It's really good, but it's graphic. Also, if you are religious, it might come off as offensive. For me, I always go into it with a very open mind, but then at the same time, I have to go into other things with an open mind. Like, when I was reading the Shadowhunter Chronicles, at first I was pretty offended. I'm like, wow, this is what I've been taught to stay away from, because I grew up in that conservative background. This all being said, I'm no longer conservative, but I grew up in that background, and so I remember not going into it with an open mind and being very shocked. And I had to tell myself, okay, maybe I should just go into these things with an open mind. I also had to open my mind with Riordan's books, to be honest. And right now, I'm reading a very philosophical book. It's called Sophie's World. It's really good. This all being said, if you find yourself easily offended when it comes to other people kind of scrutinizing your religion, or if they bring things up and it's not true, these book series are definitely not for you. I read them, but I don't take them literally for entertainment's sake. And sometimes I'm just like, okay, that ain't true about what I believe, but hey, that's someone else's interpretation. And so I guess that's what I originally struggled with when I first read the series. I found it really difficult to open my mind to it. Now I've really opened my mind to it. I've really invested myself in The Wicked and the Divine, and I have to say, it's a pretty good series. I mean, it's creepy and graphic, but it's very entertaining. When anybody talks about bingeable comic book series, a lot of people do refer to Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I am around 3 volumes into Saga. I really do want to binge read the series, but at the same time, I'm really scared too because I don't know when these guys are coming back from hiatus at all. But I have 8 volumes at home, and I think there are 9 volumes out at the moment. And guys, I cannot tell you how many times I put this series off because everybody kept on recommending it to me. I kept on thinking, everyone's recommending it to me. It's probably not going to be great. It's going to be overhyped. It's going to be boring because everybody loves it, and I'm just going to think it's just okay. But I love it. I love it so much to the point that I kind of prefer it over The Wicked and the Divine now. And I loved The Wicked and the Divine so much more at one point, but now when I really think about about it, I feel like there are so many fond memories I have of Saga. That's why I definitely want to continue on with the series, but also I really recommend it to anyone. Just please, please, please pick the series up. Like I did mention previously, it is pretty graphic, but if you like sci-fi, it has to do with sci-fi, and if you like satirical stuff, sense of humor, it's your thing. And the final recommendation I have for everyone is a manga series. I understand if manga is not your thing. No, actually, I don't care because the series is just good. I highly recommend, if you are looking for a binge read at the moment, binge Berserk. So there's a Kirby keychain attached to the bookmark, and that's because they put it there and it's cute. Pretty cute for a dark series. So no, Berserk isn't this long at all. This is just the first 3 volumes. There are like currently 40 volumes of Berserk, but oh boy, this series is just really good. Like I did mention previously, if you do get easily offended when it comes to religious themes, kind of getting somewhat misconstrued, or it doesn't match up with your personal beliefs, I do have to recommend you either go into this with precaution or just don't read it at all. That all being said, there are trigger warnings for a lot of things. We'll put them on the screen right now just to warn you guys before going into the series, because yes, I am recommending the series, but I do not want people harming themselves while going in this series, because it's a very enjoyable series if you're able to stomach it. That is definitely what I have to say about Berserk. Literally everywhere I go, it says parent advisory. Like, that's how intense it is as well. And I remember when Bae first recommended Berserk to me, he said if you thought GOT was graphic, read Berserk. See if it's more graphic than Berserk. I'm just warning you guys right now, I really recommend the Berserk series. Then again, I think my reading tastes have gotten very dark in this last year. I guess this whole video was about my descent into darkness. I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you want to purchase any of these binge-worthy books that I mentioned in this video today, all the Book Depository purchase links will be down in the description, so you can check them out, you can purchase them, and you can help me out by doing so. And I also have social medias. I'm at G-Swizzel Books on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/G-Swizzel. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it into double. Started out with half and I flipped it into double.